Fitzpatrick takes the snap, drops back, lobs it back right corner. Decker! He's got it! Touchdown! Eric Decker scores! And the Jets have won it in overtime!
This is the Jet Take with Ben Blessington and Kyle Fahey.
Welcome back to another episode of the Jet Take. I'm your host, Ben Blessington. I know we've been saying this for a long time, but I think we might need to change that intro song pretty soon. Fitzpatrick to Decker might be replaced by McCown to Robbie Anderson, maybe? I don't know. Kyle Fahey, how you doing, man?
We're not attaching ourselves to another
stopgap 38-year-old quarterback.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good way of phrasing that. I was going to say something else, but that's definitely more PC. So yeah, I don't think we should do that.
Okay, we'll just wait another year when Lamar Jackson hits Robbie Anderson for
Baker Mayfield just hitting,
or Baker Mayfield and anyone.
Austin Seferian-Jenkins in stride for touchdown.
Well, we all know, as you said before, that it's going to be Josh McCown's going to be the starter 2018. On the bench is going to be Josh Allen.
Yep.
And
Jets
we're going to roll.
9-7, missed the playoffs.
No, they're going to go 7-9.
Oh yeah.
They're going to be out of it by October and then go on like a 6-game win streak.
Yeah, and then
led by Bryce Petty, the third string quarterback. And then we'll be picking 11th in 2019. It's the life of a Jetsman right there.
Yeah, and then we'll take the Florida State defensive tackle who has obvious off the field issues, but we'll look past it.
Yeah, I think it's a great move. All right, all jokes aside, Jets now sitting at 5-7 after a win over the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, let's hope so. So Kyle, let's hop right into it. Your thoughts on this Jets victory over the Chiefs and in Darrelle Revis's return, I may add.
I'm just laughing, okay, because this is the most Jets thing ever, right? No reason being in this game. Absolutely no reason to win this game.
Whoa. Don't say that, but okay.
Well, give me a reason, then.
Well, I mean, first and foremost,
boom,
I don't think it's going to happen. Did I finish my point? I didn't even make a point on it.
I don't think you ever started it.
That's a great point. I didn't even get to start it. No, first of all, the Jets are sitting at 10th in the AFC, which means they're 2 games back from the wild card with 4 to play. If the Ravens lose twice and they play the Steelers and Bengals, and the Bills, Raiders, and Chargers at least lose 1 more game.
Yep.
And the Jets win out. They'll make the playoffs. So, checkmate, Kyle.
I think the Browns are still mathematically in it as well. Because I didn't see anything that said they were out.
First of all, they are out. Second of all, no, I know what you're saying.
Are they officially?
I wrote that in the Turn on the Jets roundtable. I wrote there's virtually nothing left to play for but pride. I think it's not just about pride, but it's also about the young guys.
Because the Jets are all about that, right?
It's about the young guys playing well. Kyle, how good did it feel to have? Oh, you're not going to give me the right answer, but so I'll change the question. I mean, for other Jets fans or listeners, I mean, it's fun to watch Jermaine Kearse and Robbie Anderson dominate. It's fun to watch, Elijah McGuire continue to take next steps. It's fun to Jermaine Kearse is not that old. He's like, 27? It's fun to watch, Jamal Adams and Marcus May play well, although Marcus May didn't have a terrific game. But, Jamal Adams certainly had a pretty good game. Once they put Jamal Adams and Travis Kelce, who was held to 1 more catch, and Jamal could have had a pick 6 on that last drive, but instead he dropped it. But, it's all right. He made the pass breakup. You're watching guys that are young playing well. Jordan Jenkins had a hell of a game. So I would rather watch this team that is feeling inspired, is playing well, playing close together, that's winning games, than the team that we trotted out last year against Miami in that home game. Remember that primetime game where, they lost, they ended up losing by like 30 points, and everybody just looks lethargic. It looks like nobody wants to be there. Bowles has the respect of his guys, and they're playing hard under him, and I like that. I have no problem with it. If the Jets are in love with the guy, you trade up, and I know you have to, deal a fortune. But I said this at the beginning of the season, and I will say I'll claim my chips now. I did say that the Jets would have a better record than they did last year, which is now officially true. Correct? They had 5 wins. What did they get last year?
4, I think.
And they might have had 5 last year.
They might have 5.
We might have 1 more to go. But I just feel it's. I would rather be a quarterback away, picking at 17. than an entire team away picking at 1. And I know that's not entirely true for each situation, but it is the majority of the thing. Because Kyle, if you're going to be worse than look at the circus that the New York Giants are right now. If you're going to be worse than the Giants and worse than the Browns and the Niners, I mean that means Jamal. That means Jamal. We will in a second. That means Jamal Adams and Marcus May both suck. I mean that means Jordan Jenkins is trash. That means the entire defense is getting burned every play.
You see Peyton Manning in his rookie year? Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the point. Peyton Manning definitely showed progress. I mean, that was really a horrible point you just made.
I'm honestly just making.
It would mean Robbie Anderson can't be a number 1 wide receiver. It would mean Jermaine Kearse was bad. It would mean Austin Seferian-Jenkins didn't take the next. Like I would rather be in this situation where guys are playing well, and then you go into and then you go into this next step. You go into this next offseason, no matter where you're picking. And you look, okay, you get a Nunwa back from injury. Your wide receiver core is looking good. I mean, Kearse and Anderson are dominating. Bring me back a Nunwa. ASJ's nice. You're going to replace Forte with somebody. I mean, you're going to have a pretty solid offense next year. It all, surrounds the quarterback. And Kyle, we talked about this. The Jets are going to have the most cap space in the NFL. They already have the most, I believe, or second most. But once they cut Muhammad Wilkerson, frees up $11 million.
Yeah. I don't think we'll have the most, though. I think the 49ers and Browns are ahead of us still.
No, we have the second most, and if we cut Mo, we'll have the number 1. Connor Hughes, and we also have to cut Buster Screen, I think. They cut a bunch of dead weight players. I mean, Kyle, you're going to go into next offseason.
Believe it or not, Buster Screen has played well this year.
He's had his moments, but he's definitely had his negative moments. Anyway,
he's definitely benefited from having a good
Kyle, is I would rather go into this offseason with this team right now. I mean, look at the Eagles, and I know they have their quarterback and stuff, but like, it's not just a thing where you can go. I mean, the one time that this happened was the Colts with Peyton Manning were a playoff team. Peyton Manning goes down, they were awful, and then they get Andrew Luck, and they're back to a playoff team. That was the one time that happened in the entire history of the NFL. I mean, there might be a few other ones. My point is I'd rather go into the offseason. I'd rather go into the offseason with 2 second-round draft picks and a first, and you got the most cap space, and just build around this. I mean, the Jets don't have too many conceivable holes outside of quarterback. They have a few here and there, but these young guys take the next step. Like Kyle, I'm perfectly fine with this situation. Anyways, we'll come back to this topic in a bit, and we're going to do the review of the Chiefs game because we already got to this. But really quickly, I'd like to do some plugs. You can follow us at the Jet Take on Twitter, also on iTunes, SoundCloud, any other podcatchers you can find our podcast on. Also, we'd like to give a special shout-out. Let me make sure I get the name right. It's Will Gallego.
Oh, yikes. We probably should have checked that.
Yeah, it's
Sorry, Will.
Sorry, Will. Anyways,
yeah.
Since we were promoting the Jets tickets this past year, they gave us 2 free tickets to a game this year, to any home game we wanted this year. We waited till the end of the year. Picked this Chiefs one. Probably could have gone it earlier, but it was a pretty solid game to go to. And they were good seats too. They were
surprisingly good seats. Like I feel like.
So at Will Gallego, Gallego, we sent him to the game. He took a few photos. So I guess shout out to him. I thought, they looked pretty good. So, anyways, congratulations to him. It looked like he had a good time. That was all I just wanted to say about that.
For backstory, we did a giveaway. I feel like you didn't say that.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to say that. We did a giveaway. So basically, it was retweet and follow a tweet I tweeted out, and then you'd be entered. And this isn't going to be the last time we'll do it. I mean, that specific offer we'll probably have at least once a year, and we'll have some other stuff we'll do. So make sure to just follow the Twitter. To see that stuff. But and then Kyle was giving me a hard time because Will was the only guy that responded to the tweet with a fingers crossed emoji.
Yep.
And so Kyle was like, "Did you just pick him? Just based off that?"
Right.
No. What I did was, so it was retweeted 67 times or something. So I said, "Siri, pick a number between 1 and 67." Shut up. 65? Is that what you're talking about? So I said, pick a number between 1 and 67, and she said 39, and so then I counted from the retweets from the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Followers in your Twitter account.
Shut up. I
got 30. I got 39. It was Will. So, anyways, congrats to him. Stay tuned on our Twitter though. We'll make sure to do some giveaways. We got a lot of love for that. So I guess people like 3 things. Anyways, Kyle. Yeah, I think we actually dipped below it again. We hit 1.1 on Twitter, but then I think we fell.
What? Really?
We're back to 1.1.
Nope, we're back to 1.1.
We're at 1.1K. So if you're not following, please follow us.
Yeah.
I'd also let's just hop into it, Kyle. Give me your thoughts on the Jets-Chiefs game without diving into the win to not to win type of thing. Just break down the game.
Yeah, I'll be like an actual analyst today because even I'm kind of getting sick of this pessimistic Kyle because the joke's getting old. All right, actual analysis time. Offense played fairly well most of the day. It was a shootout to start the game. They started down 14-0, and as an offense in the NFL, that's a little bit disparaging, knowing that your defense isn't really helping you out a bit. But Josh McCown and the troops, specifically Jermaine Kearse and Robbie Anderson, they went out there and performed. They got the job done. Josh McCown, AFC Offensive Player of the Week, I believe, or was it AFC Player of the Week? It was one of them.
I'll check, but I believe it's AFC Offensive Player of the Week.
Yeah, he went out there.
You can only have offensive or defensive, so it's AFC Offensive. Sorry, my bad.
Okay, so Offensive Player of the Week. Obviously very good. He had he was doing a great job at stretching the field all day. Robbie Anderson, Jermaine Kearse in the middle of the field seemed to be effective just the way that the Chiefs, they were playing off. And if you go and look at the film, and I haven't watched the whole game yet, but I've watched a little bit of it, Revis, he got benched in the second half basically, but in the first half, it was 10 yards off of Robbie Anderson almost every time. And the Jets capitalized off of that. John Morton has done a very good job this year at picking up schemes like that, at least in the first 3 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter, I don't know what the hell goes on. But they finished this time. They started slow and they finished strong, which is not what the Jets have been doing, throughout the whole year. So the offense did very well, obviously led by Josh McCown. Offensive line, they did pretty good. No glaring mistakes on their part. Defensive side, rough start. Rookie safeties made rookie mistakes. Rontez Miles, the first touchdown to Travis Kelce, I think he just fooled himself. He tried to overread the play, thought Kelce was going to go inside, went out, and I believe it was Marcus May over the top who didn't pick it up, which that's more on Montez Miles, but still, you would hope your free safety kind of sees the wide open 6'5" tight end in the middle of the field. Didn't see it. Touchdown. Second drive. Marcus May just got beat. I mean, it happens in the NFL. Travis Kelce, obviously one of the better tight ends in today. Arguably number 1 tight end, depending on if Gronk's healthy or not. So it happens, nothing to be afraid of. Rookie mistakes, getting beat by one of the best tight ends in the NFL. That's okay. Nobody panic. But besides that, it was pretty good. Obviously, the Tyreek Hill touchdowns, there's nothing I can say about that because he is the fastest guy in the NFL, pure speed-wise. And when he runs in a straight line and Alex Smith doesn't throw it 10 yards behind him, it's probably a touchdown. And that happened twice, right? And
yeah.
So Travis Kelce had 2 touchdowns, Tyreek Hill had 2 touchdowns, and they made a field goal, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. What was the final score? 34-31?
Yes.
Okay, so they made a field goal after that, and they missed the other field goal, right? It went right after one of those drives. So,
yeah.
Besides those 4 splash plays, and I know obviously 4 splash plays is a lot, and you can't have that happen, but if you compare it to the Steelers game from last year, and we're talking about guys like, I believe it was Martavis Bryant.
Oh, gosh. No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. He just
dominated us.
He's fast, but he's not Tyreek Hill. So there's an obvious difference and much improvement. This year, I think that goes without saying, but ultimately, the Jets end up winning the game. It was a good game to watch. It was exciting. It was easy to cheer for the Jets in this game. And it was by far the best game we've had all year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wouldn't say best game. I want to say the Bills game, but then that fourth quarter was kind of...
No.
I mean, it was their best game of the year, but then as I was saying, the fourth quarter, they just kind of stopped trying, I guess. Yeah, no, I thought you hit everything there. I think offensively, Josh McCown is just the leader of the team right now, which is, again, I personally was never worried about following into the 2015 Fitzpatrick pitfall again, but I already know that's where we're heading. I mean, Josh McCown will most likely be on this team next year. My hope is that McCown announces his retirement this year. I mean, that would be the smart thing if I were him. I mean, unless he wants to cash out for one more. I mean, his agent's probably telling him, look, this is the best year of your career. You could make good money. I mean, so he could probably, we signed him for $6 million, so he could probably get another $6 to $8 million, just because although he played much better, he also is a year older, so he could probably get like $8 million. So he might do that, as a lot of people would, but I mean, part of me thinks that Josh McCown might just walk out and just say, look, I left it all on the – no, I'm serious. Like, at the end of the year, like, I left it all on the field. I saved my best for last.
He's going to walk away like Barry Sanders in his prime.
Well, I mean, maybe not Barry Sanders, but, I mean, like, think about that. Like, that was my best season, and he just knows that he's probably not going to be able to replicate it unless he feels like he still has it in him. Then he could take the money and inevitably suck again and go out like that. But part of me hopes that he'll just retire after this year. But I already feel that
damn well that's not happening.
Well, and then just retire and then become a QB coach in like a year.
Yeah, what sport?
He has a lot of kids. You never know. Maybe he wants to spend some time with kids.
Yeah, like he does have to settle down at some point, and I honestly do believe he likes New York, and I can really foresee John Morton getting hired somewhere this offseason. I know he only has 1 year in the books.
No.
I wouldn't be shocked. Even if it's college or something. Even if it's college or something.
Yeah, but college is already really decided.
Listen, I think I could get the Tennessee job at this point. I wouldn't be shocked. John Morton, he's done a very good job this year.
Where did John Morton go to college? Let's see if he's got any ties. Keep talking, Kyle. Yeah, I'm wondering why Casey Rogers isn't getting that Tennessee job right now.
I think it's definitely going to be Tito Martin at the end of the day, as long as Peyton Manning doesn't shoot it down again, because that's the only reason he isn't the coach. Peyton Manning's one of their biggest donors. But anyway, I can see a hypothetical, scenario where John Morton accepts a job somewhere else. I don't know, college, NFL, somewhere. I'm not even saying head coaching. Maybe he hates New York. Maybe he just wants to go somewhere else. Maybe he can get that job now. Who knows? And then Jeremy Bates would move up the ladder as our offensive coordinator, and Josh McCown would be our quarterback coach. I could 100% see that happening.
I'll say this. I know. I'd sorry to cut you off. I don't think John Morton's going to get it. Now, if somebody just looks at like, wow, look what he did with Josh McCown, then maybe. But there's been plenty of times, and I will say John Morton had a terrific game this year, except for one, probably 3-4 minutes of the game when the Jets were on the goal line, and he just got completely bland on the goal line, just run, and it wasn't working, and the Jets finally got it. But I mean, they wouldn't have unless the Chiefs hadn't shot themselves in the foot like 40 times. So I have zero. I don't think John Martin's going to get a job this offseason. I think he could. I think he very well could. And remember, at the beginning of the season, people were like, "Whoa, John Morton should be our coach." I think he has a lot of potential. Look what he's done, but how many times has the second half game plan just gone to absolute crap? So I think that's what he's going to work on. And Kyle, a year from now, if he continues to grow, then I'm 100% with you. But right now, I don't think so. But as far as Josh McCown goes, I think regardless if the Jets, if it depends what the Jets.
Wait, I have a question.
I think. Well, all right, it's fine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What's the sport where you can be like you're like a coach / player? Like what sport is that in? Is that hockey?
No. There's been coach players in like every sport.
No, like
football in like the 20s. Like I think the Giants had a.
I think they're like.
Coach.
Are there like? I feel like there are bench coaches in baseball where it's like, hey,
I think you're just. Are you just thinking of baseball when the managers wear the uniform, or?
No. There's definitely a sport where there's like coach / player where it's like, okay, they're a coach, but like, say like we're down 3 guys, he can come in.
You might.
I think it's in hockey. I'm gonna look it up.
Could be in hockey. You never know. I think the Jets' plan of action here is going to be straight out of straight after the season, they're going to look at it and try to go after Kirk Cousins. If they can't get Cousins, then it depends how highly do they think of, whoever comes free from Minnesota, whether that's Sam Bradford, Teddy Bridgewater, Tyrod Taylor. But assuming the Jets don't go after all those, I think immediately they go to Josh McCown. They just re-sign him, bring him back, and then the draft is where they'll get their guy. I mean, I think I'm fine with Josh McCown returning as long as the Jets bring in another guy, because we cannot go another season with Petty, Hack, and McCown. I'm fine going with McCown, Petty, and Mayfield, or McCown, Petty, and Jackson, or McCown, Petty, and Rosen, or whatever. But we better be sure to get another quarterback, is all I'll say. Anyways, but back to the game. Yeah, offense played well. Okay. Josh McCown played terrific. The receivers, that's something I'm really impressed with. The thing I will say, though, is I was not expecting from the rookie receivers, Chad Hansen is starting to take,
the god.
I mean,
Chad
he's not amazing, but not the god yet. But next year, I could see him really taking the next step. I mean, he's been pretty good this year. I mean, this is his second game now where he's had a few catches. The Panthers game, I mean, he had a wide open touchdown that McCown didn't see him. I mean, McCown still scored a touchdown. He cursed, but I mean, Hansen was wide open in the end zone. So Hansen's playing kind of well. I mean, this was kind of what I expected for him. But the one thing I didn't expect was I thought Darius Stewart was going to be making a huge impact. I thought he was going to have the same impact that Curley had in the beginning of the season. I thought that was going to be Stewart, and then Hansen was going to kind of be where he is now, which is what I just expected. But Stewart has been non-existent. I mean, guys like JoJo Natson are getting end-around carries instead of Stewart. Kyle, what are your thoughts on the rookie receivers in the seasons they've had so far?
I hate it. Hate it a lot. I have no idea who JoJo Natson is. I'm pretty sure that guy just, appeared.
He's just one of those guys that, when you auto-generate a roster in Madden. Or, if you start a franchise in Sim Forward 10 years.
7th round, steal. He's an 80 overall in the 7th round.
No. He's like a 65 overall that is just on your roster.
But he's got, high development.
No. Slow development, 65 overall.
Wow. You're really hating on
he's got that, 93 speed, though. But besides that, he's just not much else going for him.
Okay, so we'll put him in some sub packages, is what you're saying.
We'll put him in, okay, sure.
All right.
I mean, I'll say this, Darius Stewart was pretty good at the jet sweep at Alabama, and I don't know why the Jets aren't using him. And we have seen him there before, and he's been pretty good.
We're only using him in run packages, and I really don't know why, because he's a good blocker.
Yeah, that is something you talked about. You talked about how you thought he would help the run game quite a bit, and that's why you thought he'd be getting a lot of run, is because you could have him in there, and he's a terrific run blocker, but he's also a playmaker. So he's going to block for you if you're running it, but if you're throwing it, he's going to be open. But I mean, clearly the Jets coach is he's just not polished enough as a route runner.
Clearly, the Jets know something we don't know up here. As you can go buy those shirts at.
Nice plug. Terrific.
Yeah, theloyalist.com/TOJ.
Great form. No, I mean, I'll just say this. I think that they watch. That's the always reason that I'm never questioning the coaches too much about the stuff.
That's where
I mean, I question when they make decisions that are blatantly obvious that you can where it doesn't even matter how they play in practice. Where it's they're 2-8, they should definitely be playing Petty over McCown, even if McCown is practicing better. You just play Petty. But in these type of decisions, they're watching him every day in practice, and they're just seeing, look, Darius Stewart is not the route runner that he needs to be at this point in his career. And he's a solid blocker, but he's not the route runner. Maybe his hands aren't as safe right now. So I'm completely fine with him taking the slow approach to it. I would like to see him get some more run the next 4 weeks, especially if the Jets lose this game or the next game. Anyways, back to this Chiefs game. Thought everybody performed well. Kyle, your thoughts on the offensive line? That was definitely a hot topic issue. And they've been kind of hot and cold this season. What were your thoughts on their performance on Sunday?
I can't remember anything glaring off the top of my head. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we definitely need a new center before next year, because I think that is affecting James Carpenter and Brian Winters. I don't think that it's a coincidence and I know Nick Mangold didn't play all last year or even the majority of last year. How many games did he play last year?
Probably 10 games out of 16, something like that, 12 games.
Okay. Not having Nick Mangold anymore, a future Hall of Famer and an individual who at one point in his career was making the calls at the line for a quarterback. Not having him in the middle of the field anymore, not only at the mental level, but even, in his decline as a player, still a better center than Wesley Johnson at this point, seeing as Wesley Johnson hasn't developed pretty much at all since last year. It's affecting them. It really is. I think Kelvin Beachum and Brandon Shell are doing a good job holding their own at the tackles. Shell, he's been improving a lot, in the second year. Been doing a really good job in pass protection. I know PFF is always, riding his saddle, I guess I would say. Maybe they overhype him a little bit, but he's done a very good job in pass protection. Run blocking has gotten better too, and he's definitely been helped by ASJ being in line a lot more with these packages. Same goes with Eric Tomlinson. They've both helped out the run game and subsequently the tackles, whether they're lined up. But I really think, the problems that we do have stem from center play. And, maybe Brian Winters getting pushed around a couple times. But I can't really think of anything off the top of my head from this Chiefs game specifically.
Yeah, I think, I'm also kind of scratching my brain. I don't think there was any glaring sacks or anything.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head. But, yeah, and then going defensively, how do you think that the pass rush performed, the front seven? Obviously, I don't think Muhammad Wilkerson returns next year. I think he's had his moments, and I would say as a whole this year has been better for him than last year.
But it's also been horrible.
But, yeah, he's not, I would bring him back if he was making $4 million a year. Be like, yeah, Muhammad Wilkerson, he's a solid guy to have on the team. Yeah, he can start. But he's not worth $20 million. Coney Ealy's playing as good as him. So, yeah. Muhammad Wilkerson will be gone. But your thoughts on the pass rush? The Jets outside the linebacker spot's been kind of shaky. I think Jordan Jenkins is doing a good job. He's a terrific run stopper, and I think he's starting to develop his pass rushing skills. So he's definitely a guy that can hold down that one spot. But on the other side that's been shaky, Josh Martin did it this past week. And then overall as a whole, your thoughts on the pass rush for the Jets?
Yeah, like you said, I think Jordan Jenkins is developing quite well. I guess I'll credit that to Kevin Green. He's just finding his way to the ball more, which is something we didn't see in his rookie year, and I think that's a Kevin Green trait, I guess. He's known to be that tenacity-filled guy, going to find his way to the play, going to hopefully make the play, and I think we're seeing Jordan make those steps. Definitely the much better run defender, and has definitely helped out, whatever side he's on at the time. Usually, well, I don't know where he played this week because there was no Lee to be on the weak side, but he's definitely helping whatever side he's on, in the run aspect of it. And pass rushing, he seems to always be there to, maybe get a half a sack, finish it up, or just make the guy run the other way, make him slow down a little bit. He's always in the way somehow. Stats aren't everything in the NFL, and people don't realize that, but Jordan Jenkins is an impact player on this defense. Whether if he's getting a hand, in the face of a quarterback, or forcing him 2 feet over, or, saying, hey, let's not run to this side, we got to switch it over here, and then, oh, wait, Leonard Williams is over here, so how are we going to do this? And then they got to throw it. He is affecting this game now. It's not just, okay, don't run up the middle anymore, because they got Coney Ealy, Muhammad Wilkerson, and Leonard Williams. It's like, okay, now they have explosive linebackers, and not only Jordan Jenkins, but, Deron Lee and Demario Davis, who stopped the run also. So, I know I kind of rambled there. But anyway, Jordan Jenkins developing well. Josh Martin, special teams, and I guess starter sometimes. Besides that, we've seen very little production from the outside linebackers, and we need to address that in the draft.
Yeah, and I guess we'll just keep moving. Thoughts on the corners. And secondary as a whole, I know you talked about May and Adams. Up and down, that's what you expected for them as rookies, but specifically the corners, they had a rough day.
Rashard Robinson did. He got embarrassed.
And then Claiborne got beat over the top by Hill. I know that's probably either May's fault or
I didn't bring that up.
Bowles for not putting a free safety over the top, but still he did get beat. And there's not many corners that are able to hang with Tyreek Hill, but the Jets defense did allow 31 points, so it's not all peaches and cream here.
Yeah, I don't know we're making this sound good, and like I said, it was 4 splash plays. That's what it really was. 2 busted coverages, or 3.
Well, there's also Alex Smith's 70-yard run.
That was that was painful to watch because Jamal Adams went for the strip, and I guess Alex Smith really does not want to see Patrick Mahomes play at any point this year. So he held on to that ball for dear life. Jamal Adams has got to make that tackle because he cost the Jets about 20 yards there. That's a rookie mistake. But the Morris Claiborne play, I think
I should add there, I'm fine with him completely going for the strip, but you got to bring him down.
Yeah, like you can go for it.
You can't just completely sell out for that and not leave yourself any insurance. I mean, you can start punching the ball like Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas do, but you have to make sure you got the other hand on him, just bringing him down, or at least slowing him down.
Be Ray Lewis,
literally
Peanut Tillman. That's what I want you to be.
Exactly. I think that was actually one of the smartest things you heard. Be Ray Lewis before you've ever said. Be Ray Lewis before you're Peanut Tillman. I think that's a great point. Bring him down, and then once you got that handled, then you can start poking the ball out. Yeah.
Just got to reach for it sometimes. It's fun a little. So the Morris Claiborne thing, he turned his hips, outside initially. I think he thought he had over-the-top inside help. Wasn't there. I don't know who that's on. In fact, I think I'm going to go look at that play, actually right now, because I want to see, what the coverage was. But before I say anything stupid, and I think we just got a caller. Before I say anything stupid, I'm gonna assume that's on one of the rookie safeties. But I'm gonna go check. Ben, I don't know who this caller is.
It's Scott.
Oh, it's Scott.
We'll bring Scott on.
Bring Scott on.
Well, I will add, it wasn't. I don't think you can completely say it was May. I think it probably was.
I'm gonna go check.
But I mean, Bowles is crazy. Sometimes he'll throw cover 0 blitzes out, but I'm pretty sure it was cover 1 May over the top, and May just chose wrong. Took the underneath route or something. All right, well, I guess we'll just bring on Scott. Why not? We're just kind of talking right now. From the Play Like a Jet podcast and Turn on the Jets, Mr. Scott Mason. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Ben. How are you?
Wow. I'm good.
Decimal levels, Scott.
No, I'm telling you, I love it when Scott calls in. I mean, he gets the energy up. I mean, Kyle and I are just, kind of relaxed talking. When Scott comes, he stokes the flames, and the Jet take livens up. How's your week been, Scott?
Told you, add another guy spices things up.
Well, Kyle and I had a nice beginning to the week, getting to recap the Jets' victory over the Chiefs on Sunday, 38-31. And it started my week out well, and now I'm looking forward to this Sunday when they may actually get 2 in a row against the AFC West because the Broncos have been so bad. And I was laughing because people were saying, I can't believe the Broncos are playing Trevor Siemian again. And really, what choice do they have?
I mean, is Paxton Lynch hurt again? They have Chad Kelly too, right?
Well, the Paxton Lynch was hurt, right? And they have
Chad
Brock
Kelly.
Osweiler. Chad Kelly, if he can. Well, I won't even get into that, but we know what Chad Kelly's demons are.
Yeah,
they might be better off with Jim Kelly.
Definitely. Well, Scott, let's just talk about this past game. I know you kind of broke it down with Kyle, but your thoughts on this Sunday?
This Sunday will be interesting. The Broncos, as you guys know, have a really strong defense. The problem, of course, is that the offense with Siemian or with Osweiler or with Lynch, whoever's been back there has struggled badly this year. It is in Denver, so that's a tough one for the Jets, and the Jets have been very bad on the road this year. They only have 1 road win, and it was against the Browns, and they barely got that one. And you kind of don't know what you're going to get with this Jekyll and Hyde offense. Some weeks they look like they did against the Chiefs, even after they got out to a slow start. There was 14-0 right away with the Chiefs. And then sometimes they kind of fold up into an accordion the way that they did in Tampa Bay. I think it's certainly possible the Jets could win this game. I also think it's possible that Josh McCown, who likes to take sacks, gets hit like a madman all day, and maybe we see some turnovers and the Jets end up losing. So it's a real wild card. I think after this, it gets very difficult because then you have the Saints, the Chargers, and the Patriots. The Saints and Chargers I expect to really do a number on the Jets. And the Patriots, I guess it really depends on whether or not they still need the game for any real reason. But this is the game that if the Jets are going to get another win the rest of the way, you would assume be their best chance.
I mean, yeah, I think as far as the next 4 games, and look, I don't think the Jets are going to make the playoffs. Are they still mathematically alive?
Whoa. Pessimistic much?
No, sorry, Kyle. Extremely unlikely that the Jets make the playoffs. I mean, sitting at 5-7, I did say after the bye week that 9-7 would be good enough, and if the Jets won 4 of their 5, they'd make it. So in theory, they've lost their 1 game, but they have 3 left or 4 left, excuse me. So I don't think they're going to do it. But as far as these next 4 games go, I think playing in Denver is obviously much harder. With the atmosphere there. But as you said, I mean, the Broncos have been pretty terrible this year. So I think the Jets should get that game. The Saints game is, I'll say this. In order of difficulty, I'll say least difficult is Broncos. Third difficult is the Patriots, because I think they're going to play their bench. I don't think Bill Belichick will.
Oh. We may see Brian Hoyer.
Least difficult, Kyle.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll play Brian Hoyer, so I'll say that's it. And this will be a little bit of a surprise, and I might be completely wrong, but I'll say the Saints are the second most difficult, and the Chargers are the first. And it's not because I think the Chargers are a better team than the Saints, because I don't. I think the Saints are one of the.
They are.
You think the Chargers are better than the Saints?
Yeah, right now they are.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that point a bit, because I don't agree with
that.
Well,
the main determinant there, though, obviously, is the Jets get the Chargers at home as opposed to the Saints on the road, so that would right there make the Saints a tougher matchup in my mind, at least.
The reason, and I agree with that, and I think playing the Saints in New Orleans is tough, but the thing I'll say about this is I think the Saints can look at the Jets as almost like a trap game, almost like a team they can just overlook.
Oh,
yeah. The Saints have
I
almost.
love those Jets late season trap games.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, the Saints have pretty much already cemented their spot in the playoffs. They don't have too much left to play for. I could totally see the Jets just sneaking one. The Chargers, however, are fighting tooth and nail for a playoff spot. They know they're against an AFC opponent. They know they're right on the line. They actually have to fight for something. So I don't think they'll let the Jets get by them. So I would say the Chargers are the most difficult. But I think the Saints are the better team and the hardest team that we'll have to play. But I think as far as hardest game atmosphere, it's going to be the Chargers, because they're going to play tough. Especially if they win these next 2 games, I mean, they're going to be on a 5-game win streak, 6-game win streak, something like that. They're going to be coming on white hot, and it'll be hard.
Oh, are you saying something in LA is on fire?
Oh boy.
Sure. Anyway,
Kyle always has to take it there, don't you, Kyle?
Oh,
you should have heard him before the show. Every week, Kyle is a new guy. Anyway,
what joke did I make before?
Text me about it. Anyways, we'll just keep going.
I'm
Scott,
interested to know.
Think about it, Kyle. Anyways, yeah, I mean, this Sunday, as you said, I think the Broncos are the best chance the Jets have to win. Now, Scott, I was asking Kyle about this, and I guess I'll get your thoughts. We were kind of just going through the position groups and your thoughts. But one of the things we were talking about were the wide receivers, specifically the young ones, Chad Hansen or Darius Stewart. Hansen is kind of where I thought he'd be. He's made some more catches. He had a few third down catches last week. 2 weeks ago against Carolina, I mean, he was wide open for a touchdown. So he's making strides, and I think next year will really be a year he can jump out. But the thing I said is I thought that Darius Stewart was going to be a main contributor to this team. But that hasn't been the case. I mean, guys like JoJo Natson are getting carries over him on end arounds, and he's just really only in to run block. What are your thoughts on the rookie receivers in the season they've had?
Yeah, I talked to Kyle about this on Sunday, and we were both surprised that Darius Stewart hasn't at the very least been asked to handle some kickoff returns. It's kind of puzzling. You thought that was part of the reason he was brought in. They've tried jet sweeps and end arounds with him, but it hasn't really worked, and it doesn't seem to be his strength. I think part of it is probably on the offensive line, too, because they've just been really bad at run blocking this year. But I would hope that they would find more ways to get Darius Stewart involved. Chad Hansen, like you said, Ben, he's kind of around where I thought he'd be, especially the last 2 weeks. He's been picking things up. I believe he's had 4 or 5 third down to first down conversions over the last 2 weeks, so that's really nice to see. And I was very high on the Chad Hansen pick. Wasn't as high on Stewart, but I was very high on the Chad Hansen pick because I watched him a lot at Cal last year, especially watched him tear up my Longhorns for almost 200 yards of offense. And he's a guy that has the size and the hands, I think, to be a very solid NFL receiver. I think Joe Caparoso compared him to Chris Hogan. I think that's a fair one. Chris Hogan has turned into a pretty good receiver. I don't think Hanson's –
Nice.
Well, yeah, I don't like to necessarily do the white guy to white guy comparison just because it's such a tired cliche, but since Joe did the comparison, I'll just piggyback off of it, and I think it's a decent comparison. But I do think that Chad Hansen can become a pretty solid receiver. I'm not expecting him to be anything amazing or a big-time star or anything like that, but then again, I certainly wasn't expecting that out of Robbie Anderson, and lo and behold, as I wrote in the roundtable that David Aiken and I and Greg Armstrong and Joe Caparoso did this week, Robbie Anderson is in the top 5 in the conference in several categories and in the top 10 in everything. So it's really amazing how he's come along, and you don't want to jinx it, but he sure looks like if he stays healthy and gets a little more help in the offense next year with a healthy Quincy Enunwa and maybe another piece, that he's well on his way to becoming one of the best receivers in the league if everything continues apace. Because, man, and this is going to be the first time that a homegrown Jet wide receiver would have gotten over 1,000 yards in quite a while. I would have to imagine probably since – no, I would think it would have to be either Jericho Cotchery or Lavernius Coles.
Yeah,
probably Lavernius in like 2006.
Yeah, probably around 2000.
Kyle literally just guessed that.
Actually, you know what? I think it might have been. It was either 06 or 08. I'd have to go back and check because I know.
No, it would be 08 for sure. The year with Favre. I might
yes,
be wrong.
Right.
I remember I watched that year, and I know he had a dominant year that year.
No, I'm pretty sure you're right about that.
06, 1,000.
Yeah, what about 08? What about 08?
850.
Dang it!
All right. Well, there you go. Okay.
Suck it, Ben.
Okay, first of all, Kyle, you were, 5 years old when that happened? No way you had any. You just took a shot.
Ben,
you know
I
that.
played NFL Madden Fever, or not, NFL Fever.
When you were 5, really?
No, when I was like 8.
All right, still, that's the 2009 season.
But it was
he had a fever, and the only cure was more Jets.
Hold on. Now I have to go prove this wrong.
Ben, I already proved you wrong. You lost, okay?
I might win with Cotchery or something. You never know. Anyways, I guess Kyle's turned into, I guess this is his natural form, so never mind. Let's talk about Quincy Enunwa, who's been gone this year. He's hurt. Assuming he comes back healthy, 2018 might be a year where the Jets actually have weapons. Coming into this year, a lot of people talking about how they have a dearth of weapons, and I was against that. I've made that pretty clear, but a lot of people, including Kyle, accused me of seeing the Jets through green glasses, and not all of my takes have been on. Good. I thought that Bilal Powell would have a better season than he's had so far, and et cetera. But I will say, 2018, Safarian Jenkins has taken the next step. You're going to have 2 young guys that both took huge steps in their second years, or I guess third year for Enunwa, but second year for him. So you have Enunwa and Anderson, and then Kearse in the slot. He's been almost as good as Anderson, probably not, but he's been a very good receiver. And then we even saw McGuire take a little bit of the next step this past week, and assuming the Jets draft another guy. So if you think about it, next year's offense, ASJ, Enunwa, Kearse, Anderson, Powell, McGuire, and then, fill in rookie there. That's a pretty solid supporting cast for whoever's under center. Scott, what are your thoughts on the 2018 offense for the Jets?
Yeah, they need to add another running back. I think Forte will be gone, and they could use somebody. I like Powell and I like McGuire for what they do, but they need somebody that can pick up a little bit more of the slack in the running game, preferably somebody that can catch out of the backfield as well, because that's just the way the NFL is now. You have to be able to do that. They could use an extra weapon at receiver because we don't 100% know what to expect from Quincy Enunwa coming back from injury. Jermaine Kearse is interesting because he's a guy that I was almost positive would be a one-and-done with the Jets, but if you look at it, he has another year left on his deal that the Jets can get out of, but I don't know that they would want to because it's 1 year, $5 million. And considering how much production that he put up this past year. So far, with a couple of games to go, it looks like he's got a reasonably good chance to reach the 1,000-yard mark and might, depending on how things go, have a chance to get close to double-digit touchdowns. He's only 27 or 28 years old at this point, and you can bring him back for 1 year, $5 million. Why not? So I think that if those three guys and maybe add another piece, I think the major overhaul that they're going to need to do on the offense, besides obviously the quarterback position, and we can all talk about how Josh McCown has played much better than we expected. I think this is the absolute peak. It's kind of weird. The Jets got peak Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then they got the worst of Ryan Fitzpatrick. They're getting peak Josh McCown now, and I have a strange feeling that if he ends up starting for them at any point next year, they'll get the downside of Josh McCown next year. That's just kind of how it goes. As we've said before, it's kind of a regression to the mean, the old saying, you are what the back of your baseball card says you are. But they need an overhaul quarterback, obviously, whether that ends up being Kirk Cousins or a draft pick like Baker Mayfield or Rosen or Darnold, although Rosen and Darnold are looking less and less likely with each win that the Jets get. But I think the major overhaul, besides the obvious, is they've really got to do something with the offensive line because the run blocking has been absolutely horrible. And I have to give Joe Blewett from Jet Nation Radio a lot of credit. His film breakdowns are really, really good. And one of the things that he has been pointing out time and time again, as has your buddy Kyle Smith, the offensive line.
My buddy.
Well, I should have clarified when I was saying your buddy. I really kind of meant the show, but I mean, sure.
He was friends with me first, Kyle.
Yeah, but then, he dumped you.
Man, I thought you guys were married. Now you guys are cheating on each other and dumping the mistresses. I don't know what's going on. You guys got a crazy thing going on.
It was over for Ben when I got invited to a film review. He didn't.
Kyle, it's because people know you have no life and to consume your time with. So
Ben is busy. Ben is busy filling out his applications for Harvard. You got to give him a break.
Yeah, he got accepted in Arizona State.
Yeah,
any truth to the rumor that you've now decided to go to Arizona State just so you can cover Herm Edwards' press conferences?
Oh,
no.
Ben,
yes, it is one of the schools that I've applied to and gotten into. But
I'll pay your tuition if you do it. We need more quotes. We need more sound bites, Ben. Do it for the show.
Get Herm on the show.
Yeah, right. Do it. No balls. You won't.
Kyle, how about you do it? No, I don't know. I'll find out exactly where I'm going in a few weeks.
I'm looking forward to hearing this. This could be interesting.
I will tell you when I get in.
But in all seriousness, though, with the film breakdowns, what they have shown and what we've seen with our own two eyes, but what Joe and Kyle have made a lot more obvious through their film breakdowns is that the offensive line is just getting no push. And so even though the running game, it wasn't going to be especially strong anyway because Matt Forte looks like he's moving in quicksand. And Powell and McGuire certainly are more spry, but neither one of them is a guy that I would count on to carry the ball 20 times a game or whatever. But the offensive line is just getting no push. They've done a better job of protecting McCown for the most part than I expected, but they're getting no push. So I think Shell, when healthy, has been pretty solid at right tackle. Winters has struggled this year a little bit, but he's a guy that I expect to be back in one of the starting guards, and Carpenter's been reasonably steady. Then Wesley Johnson obviously has to go. They have to do something at center. And then at left tackle, I know he's a good friend of the show, and I've said this many times, he seems like a Class A human being. But I don't know. We'll see. Is Kelvin Beachum the guy that's going to be at that left tackle spot next year? I don't know. I
can't believe you just did that, Scott.
I'm just asking questions. So I think that's something to watch for, though, Ben, going into 2018. The obvious is the quarterback and then maybe an extra weapon in the receiving core and a little bit of an upgrade at the running game. But I think the offensive line really needs some help.
All right, well, we're going to continue with that in just a second. I just want to add that, Kyle, you were incorrect. Jericho Cotchery, 2007, had 1,100 yards. So, I mean, neither of us.
See, I told you it was either Coles or Cotchery.
I was like, Cotchery might have had a good year in there. But Cotchery was the last homegrown player that the Jets have had.
Lavernius Coles, 2006. That's a year before.
Are you dumb?
Am I? Did I just say something?
Yeah, Kyle, I love you, but I don't know what you're getting at.
What is more recent, 2006 or 2007?
Oh, shit.
All right. Anyways, continuing.
We got...
I mean, all right. You done there?
This is why I love Kyle. I don't know what to tell you. This is great.
I don't know why I said that. Oh, my God.
I can tell you why.
All right. I gotta leave after that.
Yeah, just leave the meeting at this point. Well, Kyle, I was actually going to go to you next. What are your thoughts on the possibilities of the Jets' 2018 offense? I mean, it feels like every week we're just talking about 2018, and
yeah, hey, we have a season to talk about, Ben. All right, we'll kick you off the show.
You're right.
You don't talk about this season.
Anyways, I just want to add. I think the Jets should just go Cousins. I think it simplifies everything. I think you might have to burn $30 million on him, but he's plenty worth that, especially if you're getting rid of Muhammad Wilkerson. I mean, the Jets will have the most cap space in the league. Why not use him? You're still going to have a crap ton to build the rest of the team. So I'd go probably after Cousins next year. Yeah. So I guess Kyle wants to focus on this season. So Kyle,
no, that was I was making a joke or a mockery.
Okay, fine. Well, let's go back to the offensive line. Yeah, Wesley Johnson has been. I guess I agree with you. In pass blocking, he's been pretty okay. And run blocking, he gets zero push. And I think the offensive line kind of just follows the lead of the center. And that was the luxury the Jets had with Nick Mangold. I mean, but yeah, in the run game, I mean, he gets no push. I mean, how many times have the Jets had a productive run up the middle this season? I mean, just think about that. A lot of them have been tackle runs or outside runs, but there's been virtually nothing behind Wesley Johnson. So I think they're going to need to upgrade that over the offseason. But Scott, I think you hit the nail on the head about the offensive line, and it is really the most underrated position in the NFL. I mean, that's pretty well-known statement. I will say this, though, going into next year, and I hate to bring it back, but, you get to talk about this year's players and their futures in the team. I mean, obviously, Winters and Carpenter will return. We've already talked about Johnson, and he might be able to stay as a backup. I think the Jets will probably cut Ajalana because they paid him like $10 million, and he's not even playing at all. So my question
is, let me just toss one thing in while we're on Wesley Johnson. One thing with that to consider is that as Jets fans, we've been very spoiled at the center position because the Jets have had two of the greatest centers to ever play the game back to back.
Yep.
So when you have Kevin Mawai from 98 up until 2006, and then you have Mangold from 2006 to 2016, it just makes it difficult when you see a guy like Wesley Johnson who's subpar. But regardless, they are going to have to do something at center, obviously. If Johnson sticks around as a backup, we saw he can handle that role backing up Mangold, but he can't start 16 games.
Yeah, and I'll say this about having back-to-back centers. I mean, I think that's amazing and all, but I'll easily trade places with the Packers and have two of the greatest back-to-back quarterbacks.
Or the Colts.
Yeah, or the Colts, Peyton Manning and Luck. I'll trade the centers for the quarterbacks. I'm sorry, Kevin and Nick. But I wanted to ask you about the future of the tackles next year. What are your thoughts on Beacham's season, as well as the Shell-Qualley tandem that they've trotted out? What are your thoughts on the season? What are your expectations for them for the rest of the season? And then are they returning in 2018 as starters, backups, or are they not on the team at all?
I think that Shell has played pretty well. I think he's shown to be one of the better acquisitions that McCagnon has made. Obviously, number one with a bullet has to be Robbie Anderson. Whenever you get an undrafted free agent who produces the way that he has, that's just a huge home run. But Shell, who is a guy that they got for essentially a fourth-round pick because he was a fifth-round pick that they traded a future fourth-rounder for him, has turned into a pretty good right tackle. He's not – I mean, we don't know exactly what he's going to be. He hasn't been all-pro level or anything like that yet, but he's turned into a very solid starting right tackle for the most part. And when you get that in the fourth, what amounts to a fourth-round pick, you have to be pleased with that. As far as Beacham, I mean, he's been okay. He hasn't been great. He hasn't been terrible. He's just kind of been there, and that's an improvement over what we've seen at certain points at the left tackle spot in recent times with the Jets. Even, to be fair, with DeBrickashaw Ferguson, I know everybody lionizes Brick, and Brick has for the most part he was a very good left tackle, but he was very erratic as well, and there were seasons and games where he just wasn't very good. So especially that last year that he played before he retired, and then Clady last year was hurting and didn't do much anyway. So Beacham's at least given them some stability there, but I don't know. Going forward, is he the best they can do? I don't know. It's a tough one to say. I think that Beacham's a guy that you could live with maybe next year, but it's possible that they want to go out and get an upgrade. I'm curious to see what they're going to do overall with the line. I assume that Shell and the two guards are the guys that definitely stay, and beyond that, I think there's some questions. As far as guys that they could spend on, obviously there's free agents. I mean, you might be able to lure Justin Pugh, and the funny thing about that is he's having that whole feud with Muhammad Wilkerson. It'd be funny because about a year later, a couple months later, you'll see Justin Pugh in a Jet uniform and Muhammad Wilkerson out on the street or wherever the hell he ends up. I don't really even care at this point. Did you guys talk about that, by the way? I didn't catch the beginning of the show. Did you guys talk about Muhammad Wilkerson?
No,
a little bit.
If I'm going to be honest, I don't want to talk about it. That's not even a joke. Like, he's not showing up to meetings on time. I'll tell you this. If I don't show up to class on time, I don't graduate because I don't get to go to that class, and that means I don't learn the material and I fail. He doesn't show up. He sits out half a game or quarter of a game because he sat out that quarter.
And here's the thing. Yeah, and here's the thing, guys. And I know you guys are young, but I've seen this, and I've talked to a bunch of people about it as well. Like, I got into a little Twitter exchange with somebody today about this, and they were like, "Oh, what's the big deal about Muhammad Wilkerson being late for a couple of meetings? I know guys that are late for meetings all the time and this and that."
It's not making $18 million.
Well, it's the money, but it's also what people don't understand is, I mean, I used to box a little bit, but that's an individual sport. So it's not the same as a team sport. But
I'm about to body some people.
Yeah, I thought I was the resident body bagger around here.
Well, on Twitter you are, but with team sports, it's very different. When you're competing at a high level in a team sport, the way that the coaches handle things. You know, as an example, just as a frame of reference, I laughed because as I was having this discussion, the guy that I share my office with, I turned to him. He was a Division I wrestler in college, and I said, "Hey, what would happen if you or somebody else on your team showed up to a meeting like even a minute late?" He goes, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "You don't show up to a meeting a minute late." He goes, "You show up to a meeting a minute late, there's hell to pay." I was like, there you go. Because people don't understand the difference between being late, a couple minutes late for a meeting at a normal job and when it's sports, because sports culture is just very different. 15 minutes early is on time for a lot of these guys. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, that was Tom Coughlin's motto when he was with the Giants. So I think that's part of it. I mean, yeah, the $18 million or whatever, but it's also just, look, man, that's the way things are in that culture, and when you show up late, they see it as a major sign of disrespect. And so if he's showing up multiple times late, and then we've seen what he did last year and all that, whatever. I mean, I don't, like you said, Kyle, I almost don't want to talk about it beyond just explain that end of it, because we've talked about Muhammad Wilkerson and how basically ever since he's gotten paid, it seems like he cashed out. He pulled the Darrelle Revis thing where he got his money and now he's just going through the motions and waiting for the Jets to cut him, I guess.
Well, I mean, when you're the $18 million, $20 million, I don't want to say the face of the franchise, but it's,
he was
certainly when they signed into the extension. I mean, he's supposed to be a face of the franchise, the leader of the team. I believe he's the longest tenured vet on the team. That's correct. I mean, he's the longest tenured guy on the team, and you're showing up to meetings late at least 5 times. I mean, I don't know. He does not deserve to be on the team. And it's not like, I'll say this, if he just, I have a problem with being late occasionally. Sometimes I'm a grown boy. Occasionally I sleep in and I arrive to school.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I'm running all the time. But that's one thing. That's one thing. But the other thing is so if Muhammad just had an issue and he was a minute late to meetings, but he was going on the field and dominating. It would be annoying, and Bulls should still do what he did, and he did that in 2015.
Sure.
Wilkerson was having a terrific year, and he still had the late problem, and he sat him for a quarter against the Giants.
Right.
That's one thing. But when your guy is late, he shows no effort. He shows that he doesn't care. He's making $20 million. He's supposed to be your leader, the longest tenured guy on your team. That's just not a recipe for success, and he does not deserve to be on this team. He's practically yelling to be off this roster. So, he does not return next year. The Jets will have to bite $9 million. Well, there's two scenarios. If the Jets cut him within 3 years of the new year, 3 years, 3 days within the new year, so March 1st to March 3rd or March 4th is the deadline, they will save $11 million, but have to pay him $9 million because it was he was supposed to make $20 million this year. But they can get out of $11 million, so they free up. If they wait until June, they can get $17 million off of that and only have to eat 3. But again, once you're in June, who are you signing for $17 million? So it's really just you have to play the odds.
Unless
there.
the Patriots cut Brady at the last second or something. You're not signing anyone for 17.
So they'll probably cut him within the first 3 days, and I'm all for it. As far as Lee goes, I was very happy with Lee maturing this year. Being late to a practice, and maybe it was multiple, I don't know. But being late to a practice isn't going to. And I will say this: Muhammad. I know Muhammad was late to meetings, and Lee was late to practices. But if Muhammad was late to 5 meetings this year and only got a quarter, and Lee got an entire game and was inactive, it makes you wonder how many game practices he missed. However, the report is just Bulls' policy is that if you're late to a game, you're inactive. So, he might have just missed, or late to a practice, then you're inactive. So that might have just been what it was. But I'm not going to completely trash Lee. Everybody makes mistakes. He's made a few, but his performance on the field and the effort that he's shown and the maturity and the steps that he's taken in that direction, I have. I'll give him some slack here. Is basically what I'm saying. I'm excited to watch him this Sunday, and hopefully he continues to play well.
Yeah, I think that's why I wish a lot of these players would learn from ASJ, your boy, friend of the show, former guest, because I can't tell you how many times there's been opportunities for him to be sour or have a negative attitude about things.
Oh, God.
And every single time, but every single time he'll say, because I think deep down he realizes how lucky he is to have been given a second, a third, a fourth, however many chances he got before finally he woke up. And I actually have said this before, the one lasting thing that Brandon Marshall did in a positive way for this franchise is he's a lot of the reason why ASJ is here, because if you recall, he was the one that really pushed for ASJ and vouched for him with Mike Maccagnan, and so that was a big part of the reason why Maccagnan went out and made the waiver claim for him. But I think that a lot of these younger guys really should look at ASJ and be like, look, ASJ's getting that last chance, but I don't want to be like ASJ where a team that picked me in the first round or second round gives up on me, and now I'm on the verge of maybe being out of the league if I don't get my stuff together. And so I don't think it's necessarily in a vacuum a big deal what Darren Lee did, late to practice once, you sit him and whatever. But I think that Bowles was right to do it in the sense also that you want to make sure that it ends here. You don't want him to become the next Muhammad Wilkerson where he just thinks he can get away with stuff. And so let's say Darren Lee gets to the point where in the next year or two he becomes a Pro Bowl level talent like Wilkerson was. Well, if you instill it in him early that he has to follow this stuff and that he can't get away with things, when he becomes a star, it's less likely that he's going to try and pull this stuff. The problem is when these guys see Muhammad Wilkerson showing up late 5 times, 6 times, or whatever the report was from Connor Hughes, and then all he gets is a quarter after the 5th or 6th time, it's kind of, and Dalvin Osorio talked about this on the piece that we did together that came out today at TurnOnTheJets.com, it kind of rubs some people the wrong way because it's like, okay, how come this guy, it took him 5 or 6 meetings before Bowles finally does something to him, whereas other guys maybe get in more trouble, and it's got to be a consistent standard. And like you said, Ben, if Muhammad Wilkerson was incredibly high level, maybe you kind of let him slide a little bit more because that's just the way it is. People tend to give more leeway to the guys with the most talent, but Mo has been sleepwalking the last 2 years for all intents and purposes. So if there was any thought of giving him the star treatment, shouldn't be going on, and especially considering how much money he's making and the bad example that he's setting for these guys, I would have just said, look, Mo, you show up to a meeting late one more time, and I'm just going to make you inactive for the rest of the year. We don't need you. You haven't been playing well anyway, and you're setting a terrible example for the young players in this locker room like May and Adams and guys like that. I need you to be more like DeMario Davis and a little less like your old friend Sheldon Richardson, and let's stop acting like the rules don't apply to you, because they do. And you know what? If you want to even have a thought of being able to take any kind of liberties again, maybe you might want to start earning your money. But I don't know. I think that at this point, maybe they're hoping that he'll play well enough the last couple of games that they can find some sucker to give up like a conditional draft pick for him. I don't see it happening, guys. I think he's out of here, and as far as I'm concerned at this point, see you. You can go off with your pal Revis or something and retire with a whole bunch of money that you never should have gotten in the first place.
Yeah, I agree with that for the most part, and it's pretty sad at this point that he's turned from arguably the face of the franchise in 2015 to, I don't know, the dirt on my feet, I guess. I mean, he's nothing right now. Absolutely nothing. You brought up how, and Kelvin Beachum, I took a little offense to this. You brought up how left tackle, he's kind of just like a void there right now. Nothing great, nothing terrible. So I'm going to give you a little proposition. It involves the quarterback position, the left tackle position. Right now, I guess the number one left tackle in free agency next year would be Nate Solder. Not great, not terrible. I would say he's a little above Kelvin Beachum. Obviously, Tom Brady helps. So I give you this. Would you rather go out, sign Nate Solder, and draft whatever quarterback you want? One quarterback do you want right now, Scott? Just name someone.
It's really
Don't
depends.
think about it. Just give me a name. Just give me a name. Just give me the name.
I mean, the obvious ones are Jackson and Mayfield, I guess.
You said Lamar Jackson first. So Nate Solder and Lamar Jackson, or Kirk Cousins and draft Connor Williams.
Yeah, I mean, or even if you don't draft Connor Williams and you draft a guy in the second round and you sign Cousins and draft a pass rusher, because quite frankly...
That wasn't the scenario. That was not the scenario.
Okay. Let me put it this way.
Not putting up with these semantics, Scott.
No, all right. Let me put it this way, Kyle. I think that if you're the Jets, you have to go hard after Kirk Cousins, even if you decide that you want to consider drafting a quarterback in the draft. If you have a 29-year-old Pro Bowl level quarterback who is available free and clear in free agency, which has never happened before in the NFL, you look it up. He's never been a guy who was healthy in his prime, a Pro Bowl level quarterback that was available free and clear without having to give up any compensation. It's never happened before. If he's out there, which I expect will be the case, because I just don't think the Redskins are going to pay him $35 million, and I don't see them working out a long-term deal before free agency starts. I think if you're the Jets, you have to really make a play. So I think you maybe do that first, and then from there, if you land Cousins, you figure out your draft strategy after that. If you don't land Cousins, then maybe you start thinking about, okay, maybe we go out and get Tyrod or somebody else and then draft Mayfield or draft Jackson or whatever you want to do. But I think the answer is clearly if you can get Kirk Cousins, you get him, and then if it's Connor Williams or whoever, then do that.
Yeah, I agree. Counter argument to you saying there's never been a quarterback, at like the top of his career, it was just open in free agency. I present you 2016 Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Sure. If we want to say that, it reminds me of the movie Major League, which I'm sure is before both of your time, although I recommend watching it, if for no other reason that Jeff Lloyd and I love to quote it, so you'll at least know what we're talking about. But there's a part in there where the owner is going through the roster and says, oh, I want these guys, and the general manager is reading them. He's like, oh, I never heard of these guys. The ones I have heard of are way past their prime. And then somebody has never had a prime. That's kind of how I feel about Ryan Fitzpatrick. So,
Are you talking about the movie with Charlie Sheen?
Certainly am.
Oh, okay. Ben, you've seen that, right?
What are we talking about? No, I'm not gonna lie. I zoned out, and then I heard Charlie Sheen. And
we were
Ben
talking
zoned out.
Scott was saying how he has very important test results coming back, and we were just relaying it to Charlie Sheen.
Yes.
Oh,
we have to
wow.
see.
Wow, I zone out for 5 seconds, and this is the madness that ensued.
What Charlie Sheen and I do on the set of 2.5 Men in his trailer is between Charlie Sheen and I. That's all I can tell you.
All right, that's it for me.
Ben, what did I tell you about bringing the third guy into the show?
All right. Rein it in, Scott. Jeez. All right.
But yeah, no, I think that all jokes about Fitzpatrick aside, really, again, I know that there are a lot of people. I know Joe Caporoso seems to be against it. I know when Jim Garrity was on the post-game podcast with us, Kyle, he really is against it. I can't really even describe to you because we didn't get into it during the show, but off the air. But if we have him back on again when we do some special shows during the off season, he really, really is very much against the idea of Kirk Cousins. But like I said, when you have a 29-year-old quarterback who's a Pro Bowl level guy and he's available with zero compensation attached, you'd be fools not to really try to get him. So I think you do that, and then if you get him, you build your draft around that. If you don't, you build the draft around the fact that you didn't get him and then proceed accordingly. That's really where I think the Jets should go when it comes to that. So if it's Connor Williams or anybody else, that's what I would do.
I would just like to point out, and when you told me like that you had another guest on, you're like, oh yeah, I'm recording with Jim Garrity. I was like, no idea who that is. Cool. I was like, so like when you tweeted it out, and like I clicked his @ and I'm trying to find it right now to see how many followers he has. Do you know his Twitter handle off the top of your head?
Yeah, it's at Jim Garrity.
How do you spell Garrity? Oh, I think I got it.
You got it? Yeah, it's G-E-R-A-G-H-T-Y.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, so this guy, like, we're just going to act like he doesn't have 85,000 followers on Twitter and he's verified. And I was like, all right, who's this schmuck trying to take my opening spot, on the post-game podcast? And then, like, I checked, and this guy's got, like, a blue check, and he's on, like, CNN. He's a political correspondent. I'm like, oh.
To be fair, Kyle, the only reason that he came on in the opener is because we thought you were going to be balling like LeBron James. So that was the reason why he came on first. Otherwise, you were going to come on with me first, and then Jim was going to come on. But listen, you're always number one priority. You know that.
Obviously, because I'm number one in your heart at the end of the day. We all know that. And second question off of that, how the hell do you know him? Like, oh, yeah, man, come on my podcast. Verified guy with 85,000 Twitter followers who's in politics. I mean, what's...
He's a huge Jets fan, and believe it or not, he loves TOJ. And so he listens to Play Like a Jet, and he listens to the TOJ pod, and he's a big fan of Joe's.
Wow.
So,
I wonder if he listens to the Jet podcast and would be willing to write a wonderful review about it to our university of choice regarding Kyle Fahey and Ben Blessington's phenomenal job from CNN correspondent Jim Garrity, who I love.
That is a question that you would have to ask Jim. I don't know. I'll tell you this: if you read his writing, the man has a way with words. So certainly, if he were to write a recommendation to your university of choice.
I've seen this guy on TV. I watched this guy in the news. Wait, Ben, I didn't even look.
This was like my exact reaction when I clicked. I was like,
I've seen this guy.
Yeah. Hey Scott, you want to slide our iTunes link over?
We'd love to interview him.
We'll give you Santonio Holmes' agent's number.
Kyle, don't act like you handle the business. We all know who runs the business here. Kyle handles.
And we all know who keeps contact with players afterwards.
Kyle handles the goonery. That's what he.
Yeah, Kyle occasionally creepily DMs a player after a game, and then they just leave him unread. But okay, Kyle.
Listen, as long as you're not doing
that. Only Elijah.
As long as you're not doing that with some of the female reporters like the Jets were doing a couple of years ago. Do you guys remember that? I think she was from Univision or something, and they were all whistling at her or something like that. So just don't do that. That's all I ask.
Wait, oh, yeah, in the locker room. Oh, yeah,
Yep.
with like, oh, yeah, I do remember that. 2010,
Wait,
Kyle. That was before you
to be
became
fair,
Bring back Alex Giammo.
the only thing I
Gimo.
can tell. Yeah, I wasn't sure how to pronounce her last name. The only thing I will say in the defense of the Jets, and it's certainly not a defense because they never should have done that. That girl was incredibly good-looking, but you can't act like that. You cannot act like that.
Scott is on all types
Scott,
of crazy tonight.
Scott, you have a job, so I think we're going to have to cut that one, man.
No, I'm not defending what they did. I'm just saying that she's an incredibly good-looking woman, but act like an adult, for God's sake.
Asking for it, Scott? Are you saying
she was asking for it the same way I was with Charlie Sheen on the set of 2.5 Men, apparently.
Oh, my God. Wow.
What is something?
This is such a
Scott
dark
coffee.
turn. Wow.
Yeah,
I love how you guys tee me up and then you act all outraged when you.
I'm more surprised that Kyle's acting outraged because I think Kyle's just outraged because he's normally the outrageous one. So when you,
I don't know if I've ever said anything about like being like locker mates with Charlie Sheen. I don't know if I've.
Hey, Kyle, you're the one that brought up about test results with Charlie Sheen, so I just took it from there. That's all I'm saying.
Kyle just hints at things. Kyle just hints at things. He never says anything, honestly.
Yeah.
All right, guys, last Jets topic, and I understand. I know by the end of this we'll be talking about Whitney Houston or something. But Scott,
Warren Moon is going to get charged with sexual assault, apparently.
Or that, honestly.
Yeah.
Wow, didn't even get the question out. Leonard Williams. What are your thoughts on his performance this year? Because personally, I think I've been a little disappointed with him, and I know he's getting doubled and triple teamed all year, and I know he still had a pretty good year. But I said this to Kyle, I think a few weeks ago when we were doing like our player awards or midseason awards.
The
I said he was the Fahey's. We might have to rename it. We never did rename it.
No.
Right now they're the Fahey's, but they're not just Fahey's because I give them out, so they need to be like the Jet Takeys, but there needs to be like.
Or the Fessingtons or something.
I was going to make a joke that I was going to immediately regret.
I
caught myself.
I can't.
I think we
have to do something with we need to do something with the Jets and something. We'll think of it. We have to have it by the end of the year.
Fist by the Jets.
It's not gonna be Jets. It'll be like Scott. What was your thing called with DA? It was like a Pardon the Turbulence, and it was about off-field.
Oh yeah.
Like that's genius.
Yep.
Love it. It has something to do with planes, and it's also like makes sense.
That's all Dalvin. I got to give him the credit for that. He came up with that.
Yeah, I think that was my pitch to Kyle. Is the name that I wanted was Kyle. Kyle came up with the Jet Take. I'll give him that. I approached him about starting the podcast, but Kyle had the name. It was just first take, but about Jets. But I wanted to do something that like involved Jets. Like I think the name that I liked, but it was a while ago, was like Jetstream Radio, which I thought that was good, like because that had multiple meanings. Or I think. Although
now SNY took that from you, so.
Well, it's not ours. It was somebody else's. That's why we didn't do that. And then I like yours because that was like Rex's slogan and stuff. Play like a Jet, and I don't know. Anyways, back to Leonard.
That was Big John's idea too, because we were trying to come up with a name. And Joe Caparosa suggested a few, and I was just like, I don't know. And I just said to John, I was like, you got any ideas for a name? And every single time we talk about the Jets, he would constantly just say, bro, I need you to play like a Jet today. So he just said, dude, play like a Jet. I go, there you go. That was it.
Well, hold on. Speaking of your co-host, what's his name again?
Big John.
Okay, Big John needs to get on this podcast. I forgot his name for a second. I only really listened to Scott, and then I fast forward to the players. Okay, we need to get him on this podcast, Scott. So you need to bring Big John.
You don't even come on this podcast.
You're correct. Sometimes I have a busy schedule, but we will get it. We're gonna have all four of us on, and we're gonna have a most chaotic Jets discussion ever. We've never heard from this guy. We need to get him on.
I am sure he would be happy to do it. The funny thing about it is everybody always says like, what's the deal? Why doesn't he ever do interviews? He's always running away, and it's just one of those.
I think me and him are very similar. Then I think you and Kyle are very similar, and maybe Big John and I have some stuff in common. Well, I wanted to get back to
the funny thing about it is Big John and I have actually been, not to make myself feel old or you guys feel young, but Big John and I have actually been friends for longer than both of you have been alive. So there you go.
Well, that is terrifying.
I've seen the future and the past. So
could be you guys in 20 years.
Yeah, wait,
or
Kyle,
something like that.
Kyle, were you alive for the Monday Night Miracle? No, you weren't. I mean, I'm not gonna act like I was like 8 months old, but I think because it was 2000 season, right?
Ben just like loves to be like. Yeah,
I'm just saying, Scott. So your most recent
months.
thing on the Monday Night Miracle, or it was you had a recent episode of the Monday Night Miracle, I believe. So just think about that. Kyle was not even alive for that.
Part three is this Friday with Marcus Coleman. But yeah, that is kind of funny that you got that, Ben, you were barely alive, and Kyle, you weren't alive yet at all. Cause
Kyle was a concept, I believe. I believe Kyle was at least a concept.
After 18 days, my heart starts beating, so I am alive.
Oh, Jesus. Back to Leonard Williams. See, I didn't think we would get to that. I did say we would start talking about Leonard Williams, and I said Whitney Houston. Little did I know when is a human alive would end up be what we're talking about. But
immediately, for the record.
Okay, thank you, Kyle.
I just triggered some people.
Back to Leonard Williams. Scott, I wanted to get your thoughts on the season because I know he's being double teamed and triple teams, but my hope for him would be that, and he's getting no help. I think Mohan Wilkerson hasn't been that good. Coney Ely's had a solid season from what we expected. Really, Jordan Jenkins is the only other guy providing any sort of outside pressure. But if you're going to be a great player, and maybe this is something he learns to adapt. He's still very young. Look at J.J. Watt. You have to fight off those double teams and triple teams. So maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe if the Jets brought in any sort of other help, that he would go back to dominating again because not all the entire offensive line doesn't just to focus on him. But at least statistically speaking, and then sometimes on film, even in the run game, like I don't know. Scott, what have been your thoughts on Leonard Williams' season?
I mean, he's been fine. He's been good. He hasn't been great. He's been a very solid defensive lineman. Like you said, he's been facing double and triple teams. But look, if you're one of the best in the league, you overcome that. I know that it's easier said than done, but that's what the guys that are really elite players do. But I think that's part of the thing, too. I think we had expectations that were a little too high for him. People were thinking that he was going to be a 12-sack-a-year type of player, just this absolute dominant monster. And while I think he's a very good defensive lineman, I don't know that he's that kind of player that can really be that sort of consistent disruption. I would like to see some better talent around him on that D-line, and I would like to see if things would open up for him a little bit, if they're able to, say, draft a guy like Harold Landry and bring him in, or spend a few bucks on Ziggy Ansah in the off season, and then you have that finally that, as Mike Pettin liked to call it, a bitch kitty pass rusher, the guy who's a real dominant outside force and can get to the quarterback routinely, even on plays.
Wait. Mike Pettin called him what?
The term, if you read, and I know I've mentioned this to you guys before, and Ben, I know you're busy with your Ivy League applications right now, and Kyle, you're busy getting into fights with Manish Mehta on Twitter. But if you guys have a chance, grab a copy. You can buy it cheap on Amazon, too. It's called Collision.
I swear you work for these guys, because I think you've plugged it 42 times, which means
I had him
buy
on
it and read it, which means I'm going to read it.
I had the author Nicholas Dawidoff on my show, so to talk about 2011. But yeah, Collision Low Crossers. I've said before, really, truthfully, if you're a football fan, but especially a Jets fan, it's must read. But he basically had all access, so he was with the team almost like a member of the staff in 2011. And the guy that he, by his own admission, and if you read the book, it's fairly clear anyway, but as he told me, the guy that he was the closest with was Mike Pettin, because he really hung out with the defense the most, and Pettin kind of took him under his wing, and at one point he stayed a night or two in Pettin's townhouse. But the term that Pettin used to use was bitch kitty pass rusher, and what that meant was a guy that could just get to the quarterback.
Now we have to put the explicit warning on that. Right.
So yeah, we're parental advisory edition of the Jet Take. But
I think that went out the door when you brought up
Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Sorry, but
kid.
no, that was that was what he called it, and what he meant by that was a guy like Mack or a Von Miller or DeMarcus Ware when he was in his prime. You know, guys that could get to the quarterback without specifically being called on a blitz. So the Jets haven't had a guy like that really since John Abraham, and that was back in 2006. So that's the kind of guy that I think could maybe open up.
As we know, because Kyle taught us, came after 2007.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's correct.
Sorry, just wanted to make sure.
That's how linear things work, Ben. Jesus.
Yes. 2006, because what happened was in 2007, we got in a DeLorean and went back to 2006, and so that now 2006 was after 2007, basically.
Oh, that's why the 2007 season was so bad.
Yeah. I mean, everything's got to be judged through the Kyle Fahey lens, I think, right, Kyle?
What were you talking about? I was watching a CNN clip.
Were you watching the guy?
So I was watching old CNN international clips of Jim Garrity talking about foreign policy, I think, is what he's doing right now.
Wow.
But,
well,
yeah,
no,
so...
I'm watching, God, what's this guy's name? He's got the amazing hair.
Anderson Cooper.
And thank you.
Oh, Anderson Cooper, yeah. Sure. He does have great hair.
I'm just staring into Jack Frost's eyes right now, and I've never felt more at home.
All right, let's ignore whatever Kyle's saying, because we gotta wrap this up soon. So Scott, what were you saying, man?
Sure.
Ben's got a very important test that he has to get results for.
That's just not as important as the Charlie Sheen tests apparently. But no,
I've heard it's of equal value, maybe even
equal,
worse, depending on what.
All right. All right. Well, fingers crossed in that sense.
And I'm hoping for positive.
But no, so what I was saying with Williams is I'd like to see
the show. What happened to this show? I remember when Kyle's voice used to be so high and it was innocent, and now we're talking about this. Anyways, what were you saying, Scott?
Yeah, he's going through puberty before our very eyes.
Well, if you listen, and I challenge our listeners to go. If you scroll all the way down, I know. Hold on, but if you go to the first ever episode of the Jet Take and listen to Kyle's voice, you will be in for a treat.
True story. When we had Travis Wingfield on the post-game podcast, he called me to call in the number, and then Kyle called in too. And so Travis called first, and I picked up the phone, and I was like, hey, what's up, man? He goes, this isn't Fahey, is it? I'm like, nah. He's like, all right, because I was going to say, damn, your voice dropped quite a bit. So I know what he's saying, Kyle. I know what he's saying.
Wow. Got me, guys. Something I can't control.
Well, Kyle's voice has gotten much deeper. Anyways, Travis.
And Ben's schedule has gotten much busier.
It has.
He's getting
Scott.
He's getting deeper. Yes. So essentially, what I'm saying is that with Leonard Williams, if he gets a little bit of extra help on the D line, but specifically if they give him that guy to go with Jenkins. Jenkins is that nice edge setter. If they give him a real home run hitting pass rusher, I would like to see if that opens things up for Leonard Williams. But I also think that people need to take their expectations down a notch. I don't think that he's going to be necessarily a top 5 defensive lineman or something like that. I think he's going to be very good. He'll probably be a borderline Pro Bowler during the best of times. But I think that people that were gushing about him as if he was going to be the next, John Randall or somebody like that, I don't know. I think that's a little bit crazy. But yeah, so that's the deal. I think he's been disappointing with the expectations that we set for him, but I think that he's been good, just not great.
Yeah, I think it's accurate. Really quickly, I wanted to ask you, do you think Ezekiel Anza could play a 3-4 outside linebacker?
No.
I mean, nope. I'll put it this way. I think that he has the speed and the athleticism and the size to do just about anything. I'll leave that decision to Todd Bowles. I think that...
Well, Todd Bowles is also the guy who played at Sheldon Richardson.
Famous last words right there.
He played Sheldon at outside linebacker, so I don't know if we can trust him.
Well, the other thing I will say is this, though. I think that, and this is one thing that always bothered me with Rex, and it bothers me with Bowles a little bit too. I think that the truly great coaches find ways to use a guy with that kind of talent to the best of his ability. So if that means some 4-3 looks, and I'm not necessarily advocating. I was just using Ziggy Ansah as an example of a guy who's got some pass rushing skill who may be available in free agency. But whether it's him and you find some ways to use him creatively, or it's somebody else that you think fits the scheme better, it drives me a little nuts when these coaches don't find ways to utilize certain players' abilities. It's Pat Riley is the guy that I always go back.
Oh yeah.
That up-tempo, showtime offense with the Lakers, and then when he got to the Knicks, he didn't have that, so he adjusted, and he realized, okay, I have a team that's really more of a defensive-minded team, so I'm going to coach that way. And so that's why I always use Pat Riley as one of the gold standards, as a guy who knew how.
With the Heat, you know.
Sure.
Can't forget about those teams.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think he's a guy that really showed what a great coach can do. And I think that's really what you would do with a guy like Ziggy Ansah. But if you feel like he's not the right fit, you could always get somebody else. I think my general point, though, whether it's Ziggy or somebody else, is that I would like to see how Leonard Williams' performance would be affected if you were to get a guy on the outside that could be a regular double-digit sack guy.
Yeah, Kyle, what you said, and again, really quickly, you disagreed with him on Leonard Williams. Please give your Jet take.
Yeah, you're always the one that tells me not to say that. So
you haven't said it in a while, so I felt like I should say it.
Because I was respecting your wishes then. Sorry, I'm working on this relationship and you're not. Anyway, Leonard Williams is elite. That is my opinion. I don't think you are not elite when you are getting teams are specifically game planning to give up other guys free chances at quarterbacks to double team you. That doesn't just happen in the NFL unless you are guys like Ndamukong Suh, Kyle Williams, Gerald McCoy, Carlos Dunlap, and maybe a couple other guys. Aaron Donald, obviously. Forgot him. Leonard Williams is in that category 100%. Yeah. Does he have sacks? No. Is that the most important stat for a defensive tackle? It's not even like the third most important stat. Obviously, is it great if he were to get 12 sacks a year? Amazing. Love it. I want tackles for losses. I want impact in the run game. And I want run defense. Complete run defense, whatever stat that would be. I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I know there's a stat for it. And he does all of those very well. When he gets double teams, which is, I'm going to guess, 70% of the time. I mean, if you just really watch him during the game, it really shows you how little effort Muhammad Wilkerson is putting in, because he should win one-on-one battles with his effort or, his talent, but he has no effort. Shout out him. He opens the pass rush, but we don't have a pass rusher. And Scott, as you said, I'll defend that point that you were making there. Yes, give me Ziggy Ansah, like on the side of him or something, and I think the perspective changes here, because there's more production based off of it. Leonard Williams is doing his job very well. Running up the middle on the Jets, it's not easy, especially with Steve McLendon next to him. Steve McLendon does help him out a little bit. He's doing his job well. He's getting it done, and he's getting it done at a high level.
All right, well, last thing, predictions for this Sunday. Scott, I'll start with you.
Well, I think that it's going to depend really on if the Jets can get some pressure on Simeon and if they can keep Von Miller's hands off of Josh McCown for the most part. I think if McCown can see a reasonably clean pocket, I don't know that anybody, as good as Denver's defense is, I don't know that anybody can cover Robbie Anderson. I mean, so far nobody's been able to, really. It's funny because they're double-teaming him now, and they still can't cover him. It's amazing. Here's a guy that everybody said, oh, he's just a speed guy, and he has no hands, and he can't run routes, and he doesn't have any idea how to position his body. Well, he still may not be the greatest route runner in the history of running routes, but boy, a lot of that other stuff has sure improved. And so I think if Anderson can make some plays and then open some things up for Jermaine Kearse, I think that we may see the Jets get on the board. And with the way Trevor Siemian is playing, if the defense can find a way to get in his face a little bit, I think that the Jets certainly have a strong chance. Now, that said, it is in Denver, and the defense of Denver does have big playability. So, look, if Tampa could put the clamp down on the Jet offense, there's nothing that says that Denver can't. It'll be interesting. The Jets have yet to look impressive at all on the road. Maybe this is the first game of the season that they do. I don't know. I think at this point, it's hard to make a prediction, but I guess I'll say that the Jets are probably either going to win or lose by 3 points. I expect it to be a close game.
Kyle?
I think the Jets win this pretty easily. I think Denver is the second worst team in the NFL. Say what you want about their defense. They have not performed. Von Miller has not had a phenomenal year, or at least up to his standards. Chris Harris Jr., I think statistically is going to have his worst year. Aqib Talib is towards the tail end of his career. They are severely missing T.J. Ward in that secondary, and I just don't think that offense can do anything. Trevor Siemian is like sole evidence on why Colin Kaepernick is getting blackballed. If you ever doubt that, look at Trevor Siemian and tell me Colin Kaepernick isn't as good as him. Same goes for Paxton Lynch. Same goes for the Brockett chip, Brock Osweiler. All right?
The Brockett chip?
Yes, the Brockett chip. Can launch it 60 yards into the opponent's hands. It's amazing. He blows up like the Discovery almost every week. So I think the Jets win this easily. No running game. Offensive line is weak. Demaryius Thomas is getting no accurate balls thrown his way. Besides, I think Morris Claiborne can go with him fairly well. I know Kelvin Beachum will be pumped for this game. He brought it up during the interview that we did with him, during the off season. He was most looking forward to going to Denver because he's never played there. The one time he had the opportunity in Pittsburgh, he was out. So he's going to get to play this time going against Von Miller.
He got injured against Von Miller, right?
What about Von Miller?
His reason was he got injured against Von Miller the last time we got
right.
No,
so
I don't.
I think it was the interview. I had to take a snippet of the interview for my reel, so I listened to him. I'm pretty sure he said he got injured against Von Miller. But
100% it's because he got injured before they could play Denver, and he's always wanted to play against Von Miller. 100% of that.
Could be that. I don't know. I just remember it was injury and Von Miller. So either
I think the Jets won easily, 28-13.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate, Kyle. I would agree with you. I do agree with Kyle. I think it's going to be one of those games where the Jets are running the ball well. Robbie Anderson's getting some deep touchdowns. You can compare it to the Miami game early in the year, the first one, preferably.
Yeah.
I think it'll be something
and
like
the first half of the second one.
Yeah, and sure, the first half of the second one as well. So I think you're looking at 31-6. I think the Jets are going to win pretty well.
Yeah.
I know. I think the Jets are going to come to play.
Denver is not good. They're just not.
No, they're not.
I
can't get away from the road thing.
I know I'm going to eat my words, and the Jets are going to lay an egg. And so, just like you said, Scott, they're going to play exactly like they did against Tampa. But I didn't have a good feeling going into that game. But this one I have a pretty solid feeling about. Anyway, Scott, thank you so much for joining. Really quickly, plug your show, man. I doubt many of our listeners don't listen to you, but if they don't, give them a little advertisement, a little taste of what you offer over at Play Like a Jet.
You got it. Well, before we do that, one quick last thing. Kyle, any tears for the fact that it looks like your boy Bryce Petty is not going to play at all this year, as Bowles came out today and more or less said that barring injury, it's Josh McCown the rest of the way?
I need to get the sound bites. Hold on.
Are you going to play it?
Come on,
That's not the right one, man. Come
I
on.
had to play one. I literally just had to play one. Which one are you talking about?
Bryce Petty.
Oh, yeah. This one has a pretty good, accurate representation of where Kyle's voice was, if I can find it.
Yeah, this was like during the summer.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Bryce Petty.
There we go.
Wow.
That was
Yeah.
That was a while ago. You made that June of 2016. So it was not that long.
Oh.
Kyle again messes up on time.
Wow.
Anyways,
Amazing.
It's
it's
10-17.
really incredible. Scott, give your plug for Play Like a Jet.
Sure. Thank you, Ben. As always, you are a class act, and I hope that you are indeed covering Herm Edwards next year at Arizona State because I really need to get all those clips.
What happened to the Qs? You never know.
No, well, yeah, no.
You're
Listen,
not getting in.
for your own personal preference, I'd like to see you go to Qs. But for my own selfish purposes, because I need somebody on the ground covering Herm Edwards, I would like to see you go to Arizona State.
So he can yell at me, "You play to win the game!" Straight into me. We're gonna interview.
You podcast to get the listeners. Hello.
Yeah.
We have him. Where is he? He's in our soundbite somewhere. There he is. We're gonna get an interview with him now.
Hello. You play to win the game.
Coming to the Jet Take in 2018. Scott, again, preview for your show. Let's hear it.
Sure. We keep getting derailed somehow. It's partly my fault. But anyway, this Friday...
It's three very talkative... I'm trying to think of the word. No, easily... We get off track easily. So you put three very similar people into a podcast, and this is where it goes. But, Scott, please give our viewers a little advertisement here.
It's what makes it fun, but sure. Yeah, Friday we're going to get into part 3 of the Monday Night Miracle with Marcus Coleman. We did the first 2 parts. Part 1, we really got into the background about Marcus's college career and what he felt as far as the transition coming up from Texas to New York, getting drafted by the Jets, playing for Rich Kotite, then going to Parcells, then the whole thing with Bill Belichick and all that. And then in part 2, we went through the first quarter. Now, the thing that I think is really cool about this, as a longtime Jets fan, is that we're doing this Mystery Science Theater 3000 style. And for anybody that doesn't watch that or doesn't know what it is, okay, so you don't. Okay, let me explain what that means. Then it's kind of a Blu-ray director's cut edition sort of thing, where we're going through each play by play. Marcus and I, and it's almost like we're watching the game with Marcus explaining what was going on in the game at the time and talking about specific plays and what his coverage was like and also how the team felt. And so you're getting that experience of what it was like to be on the sideline for every single play of that game. For me as a longtime fan, it's really cool, and we're going to continue. We got into the first quarter last week, and now we're in the second quarter. At this point in the game, it's 17-0 Miami. The Jets have been getting their brains beaten in. Vinny Testaverde off to a rough start. He was questionable to play the game in the first place that day because he had a neck injury. So at this point, you're wondering, is Ray Lucas going to come into the game? Are the Jets going to be able to do anything? Is Miami going to keep dominating? And we'll see how things progress from there. I can tell you that Marcus Coleman was one of the stars of this game, so it's a real treat to have him on. And I'll tell you this also, Marcus Coleman, a great storyteller, and has a terrific memory. So you ask him anything that happened in that game that was from 17 years ago, and he remembers every little detail. So we'll get into part 3 of that on...
I made a tasteless joke. Continue.
Oh, I didn't even hear. I didn't even hear what you said.
Either, so
I said, take that, CTE.
Ah, yes, that's right. Hopefully no CTE for Marcus, a good man who, by the way, is living down in Austin, Texas in the Round Rock area and doing a hell of a job with the Iowa Barnstormers in the, I guess it's the Arena League or whatever it is, one of those leagues, but he's doing really well. Yeah, he's coaching there. So hopefully one day, I always say, let's bring Marcus Coleman and Eric McMillan and Marvin Jones and all those guys in as coaches. Yeah, let's bring those guys all in as coaches. But so we'll get into part 3. That's Friday. We'll start with the second quarter. You can subscribe on iTunes. You can get the podcast anywhere where podcasts are downloaded, certainly at turnonthejets.com. Leave us a review, subscribe, the whole deal. It doesn't cost you any money. It doesn't take you a lot of time, but it really helps out a lot. And I have to mention this. This debuted, I believe it was yesterday, but now in the store at theloyalist.com/turnonthejets, you can pick up your very own Play Like a Jet T-shirt. So
when are we getting one?
You're gonna have to talk to the boss.
Upload every week.
Yeah, Ben.
Hey Kyle, you're uploading tonight, man. So
yeah, it's not happening, man.
It's your week, man.
Ben, you don't get to skip a week and then act like there's no repercussions for that.
I uploaded
the last episode. We alternate.
You completely skipped an episode last week, though.
I was
you hurt our listeners.
The weather.
You're feeling under the weather every week. Bull
I
crap,
know.
Ben.
I have a condition.
Stupidity is not a condition, Ben.
I feel like I almost want to upload these shows just so you guys won't kill each other. I'm trying to be a peacekeeper.
Please.
Yeah, we got to hire a producer.
Yeah.
How much time could it take to upload the show? I can't imagine.
It doesn't even take that much. Yeah, Kyle, then why are you complaining?
Because I'm petty, Ben.
Bryce, petty.
I knew that was coming.
Anyways, Scott, it's always a pleasure to have you on. We enjoy talking to you. We enjoy having a mediator. And if our viewers listen to the first half of the show and then listen to the second half, they can clearly see a difference.
Yeah, it's a culture shock.
And who caused that difference, and it was in a good way. Scott, thank you for coming on, man. And by the way, you are always welcome to call in. You're our honorary third host, so we will never get enough of Scott Mason.
Well, thank you, Ben. I don't know if he's got his fingers crossed. I don't know if he's got his fingers crossed under the table when he's saying that, but I'll take it as a compliment.
My hands are up. My hands are up.
Dude, I threaten him with you almost every week. I have to check in on Wednesday afternoons. I know when he goes to check his phone in the morning when he first wake up, I usually hit him up around the time hey, you showing up this week? And he today he just put ugh. And I was like, all right, I'll get Scott.
I said ugh because I woke up at 6:45. I was like,
oh, what a crank.
I later said what? Not that long after, yeah, I'm down.
No, I had.
It's always an ugh followed by.
You left me on red, and I had to come back a couple hours later because I was like, I don't remember Bitch Boy responding to me. So.
I love how somehow I'm used as a threat in this scenario, but it's amusing. I will say, boys, as you know, if either one of you have something that comes up and you're unable to make it, as long as I don't have a prior engagement, you can always bring me in as the
honestly, Scott,
substitute.
you're just our third host now. So
well, that's what Joe jokes on the Turn on the Jets podcast. He always says we have the rotation going where we change it up with me and Dalvin as Joe's co-host. So whatever you guys need me to come on, either as a third host or Ben if you're under the weather, or Kyle if getting arrested for body bagging somebody. You guys.
My school got raided today. It was hilarious.
Raided?
Yeah.
What?
They did a nicotine sweep with the the drug dogs and stuff.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was hilarious for nicotine.
Wow.
That's what we're spending our taxpayer dollars on. Kids nicotine.
Well, Scott, it's a pleasure to have you on. I gotta go, by the way. So Kyle, you feel free to log off. I feel like we're pretty much done, but thank
all right,
you,
boys.
For,
and always abandons me.
I mean, I said 7:15 to 7:26, so I gotta go. So, or 10:26 your guys' time.
What test is this, Ben?
I didn't say it was a test. I have a prior engagement.
Ben, as always, a pleasure, sir. Kyle, we will chat on Sunday. There's talk of a special guest joining us.
If the Jets win and I'm
then you will
free
not be on the show.
and I'm healthy, then I'm calling in, Scott. I'm coming in, Scott.
That's like the trifecta. That's like hitting a parlay in Vegas.
As you know, Ben, I am all for you coming on whenever you want. You got to work that out with Kyle though, because that's you guys are married, and so you guys got to figure out the custody situation.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I get a whole pass with Scott, basically.
All right. Well, I gotta go, Kyle. Feel free to log off.
Boys.
Scott.
All right.
Scott, great to talk to you, man.
A pleasure as always, and Kyle, I'll talk to you on Sunday. Ben, perhaps I will talk to you on Sunday as well.
All right. See you, man.
Wow. So they both just really left like that. All right. I guess I'm gonna wrap up for tonight. Thank you guys for listening. Of course, you can follow @thejettake on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. Obviously, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, basically anywhere else you can find a podcast. As usual, we appreciate all the support. We've been really racking in some numbers lately, all because of you guys, even in these trying times of being a Jets fan. But with that, I think that's going to end the episode for tonight. And until next time, I got to find the soundbite. It's much easier with two people. You think this would be easy. It's not easy. So now I got to go and find the soundbite. So now we're going to awkwardly wait till I find this soundbite. Because I want to leave you with the best chant in the NFL. There it is. All right, now we're going to leave you with the best chant in the NFL. Till next time, go Jets. Superman is alive in Justice League.